Good morning. How are you? Good? Did I catch you doing something? You look like you're up to no good.
No, I'm enjoying my garden. After really hot weather and dry weather, we finally got a major storm last night and it dropped buckets of rain. So everything looks amazing. So I'm like taking it all in. But it's also a good time to do the garden tour. Let's do the first one of the season. Is this the first one? I think it's the first one without an issue being presented, maybe. Or maybe I'll find one on the way, but man, look at this. Is this not gorgeous?
It does look like it's popping.
It's like my pride and joy right here. Man, everything's coming back awesome, including the weeds, but yeah, I've accepted that. Man, they grow fast. So yeah, look, I mean, everything looks amazing. So Miss Sum and Substance back here. Want to see the size of these leaves? Like, this has been in for a couple years now. It's been moved a couple times because I just didn't have it in the right spot. It wasn't really thriving. Look at it now. It's like amazing. Look at the size of these leaves. Ugh, and slugs. Gross. Yeah.
What is that called?
Sum and Substance. That's a big, it's just gorgeous. When it fills out and it just kind of becomes like this little understory to the maple, the lime against the burgundy. It's awesome. This looks great this year. You got a couple, looks like it's trying to come back, but a couple branches that are a little bit sleepy or they kind of gave up already. But anyway, let's take a look at what's going on. This is the Ruby Spice Clethra, which looks awesome. The deer did not eat any of the branches this winter, so that should really be an awesome backdrop. The hydrangea's coming in really good, and none of the little side buds got zapped with a late frost. So we might get a little bit of flowers. You grow this one for foliage mainly, because it's so pretty. It's got like a mottled foliage to it. The sedums look great this year. The Hakone grass, it looks so awesome. It's gonna cascade over the rocks when it fills in. And June, look at June, man. I might have to divide that one. Isn't that gorgeous? That is like, oh, I love her when she comes out. And look at this one. I think this is a Lakeside Paisley print or something Lakeside. But that one's a little slow.
Yeah, it looks like it's Lakeside Lazy.
It's definitely taken some.
So is that just one hosta that turned into a huge one?
Oh, that's a clump. Look underneath. Look how these grow. That is just massive. I assume that this was a clump and that was a clump. Oh, and there's one in the back. So I probably most likely planted in threes because that's what I do. And it just grew into a big, which is what I want. I don't want to see, individual plants. So it's just growing in. It's happy. And my heuchera, those are the most reliable heuchera. I think that's Purple Palace or it's Plum Pudding, but either one of those two. The darker ones, man, they come back like reliably. And then this one is reliable, not as reliable as the darker ones, but this one's been in for a long time and I don't really have to reset it back in the ground either. It doesn't really heave out. You can see this one's kind of like,
So they're both the same hoopolas?
Those are heucheras, or coral bells. So, and then what'll happen, this looks like a big gap here, but this is Axeminster Gold, Russian Comfrey. This is a non-spreading, non-invasive comfrey, and it's beautiful. It's gonna send up these long stalks of pink flowers. They're little bells. And then once the flowers bloom, you can cut the main stalks off and it just sends up all this foliage. And that gets to be a big plant. The ruby spiders back here, those daylilies, look at the size of that clump this year. Everything's banging this year.
It seemed like a week ago you were complaining that nothing was banging.
Well, because it was freezing. It's weird. We were really far behind. We were like 2 weeks behind. And then we got really hot weather. We got 80, it was like 82 to 84 and rough. man, no rain, no nothing. But last night we got rain and everything was just like, yes! It's all like just jumped. Oh, guess what? We have a tree peony flower.
Wow.
Oh, they're starting to open. Beautiful. Can you see that?
Yes, I can.
It's beautiful. It has raspberry flares. Oh, and it smells so good. I love it. I just love it. I love tree peonies. So usually they bloom now, 15th to the 17th. So, and that's always the earliest one. It's always like, hey. It's so pretty.
What kind of tree peony is it called?
I don't know which one that is. I think that is a rocky eye peony though. It's really kind of tall because it leans toward the sun, and then I have to like give it a prune. A couple years ago, maybe was it last year or the year before, it was leaning so much that I had to stake it because in the shade they don't get a lot of sun, so their stems aren't that thick. So when it leans, I was like debating, do I just hack it back to the ground and let it reset itself, or I just pruned it back and then it just shot up. I didn't even miss a year of flowering. It was just like, it must just have such good roots on it that it's like, nope, I'm gonna do my thing. So it kind of reset and it's a little straighter than it was, so I'm happy about that.
It's called Rocky Eye?
Rocky Eye, yeah.
Shouldn't it be
R-O-C-K-I-I.
Shouldn't it be black and blue
Why?
instead of white?
Huh?
Because Rocky
Oh God.
gets punched in the eye, black and blue.
Well, there is kind of a black ring around the flower's eye.
There you go.
There you go.
Just trying to figure out how they came up with that name.
I don't really know. There's some strange names for peonies. They sort of give like the one I have over there is like of charming age. Like they sort of have like these sort of sayings that go with the, I don't know, that go with the flower. So
like plum pudding was a weird name, and that's
well, because it looks like the color of that, like, you know, like plum baby food. You know, it's like that color. It's like that fig. Wow, hummingbirds. Oh, look.
Is there such a thing as plum pudding?
Look.
Oh, there is a hummingbird. He's out of here. He doesn't.
Yeah, there is. I wouldn't eat it, but
no.
Yeah. But anyway, back to this. So, oh my gosh, the ferns are always late. The painted ferns, those are always really low. And then literally midsummer, these are going to be like giant. Got a lot of big hostas back there. I kind of took divisions of things and stuck them in, and now they're like becoming their own mature adult size hostas, which is exciting. Elegans, this is always my favorite. It's starting to look small to me compared to the other giants that are in here, but it always has this lovely blue until the heat takes the wax off the leaves, and then it gets more green.
How do you tell the difference between the hostas? Like, how would you know that that's the name of that hosta? Does it have a different...
Well, I planted it. When I bought it, I knew. I mean, some of these I don't know. Some of these I got as divisions from people when I first started gardening. So I don't know, but you know the standouts. Like there's very popular ones, and then there's ones that you pay a lot of money for that you're not going to forget the name of because you invested in it. Like these two little guys. Look at these little guys. So I divided this little clump and put them up the walkway. This is sun mouse. And sun mouse looks like it got a little bit of something on the edge of the leaves, but this looks good. Teaspoon, doesn't this look like a teaspoon? I mean, you can see how that one got its name. Dragon tails. This is such a cute little mini. No idea what that one is, but it's cute.
Maybe that's a wet mouse.
That's a sun mouse. I don't know what those are, but look at this. This is gray ghost. It comes up this, like, you know, kind of like creepy yellow. It's very cool. And then it changes. You can see this, it's starting to turn color. It's going to go to that green, and then it's really like a soft gradient color change. So it's really cool. I'm like fascinated by that one, and it's actually becoming a good grower. It kind of struggled there a little bit, but now it's starting to come into its own. I got a streaked hosta here. I don't know if this has a name. I just bought it because it was streaked from the boys at Naylor Creek, who unfortunately are no longer with us. So I'm a little sad because I used to get a lot of my hostas from them, and he always had some rare thing that I was always like, oh, I'll take one, Gary, I'll take one. So I miss them. This one is Autumn Frost. This is gorgeous too. I mean, look at the amazing leaves on all of these. Like, I don't know. Hostas are pretty amazing. This is Luna Moth. I had some people argue me on this being Luna Moth, but I know it's Luna Moth. It did some weird elongated leaf thing last year, but that's what it was. That's what I bought. That was from Naylor Creek also. And then I have, this one is Hosta Sting. Look at the center of the leaf on this one. See that? Sting, because it's almost got like this lightning bolt of variegation in the leaf. Orange Marmalade. This is an amazing hosta. I mean, they're all amazing. Who am I kidding?
So you don't get your hostas from the same place anymore?
They're not there anymore. Both of them passed away.
Oh, well, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, so, and they were really my favorite place to get hostas.
Is there a place somebody can get hostas? A place that just sells hostas? Or...
Oh, there's Facebook groups galore. There's people most of the time sell them on the groups now in Facebook because you get a following, and you know, hosta people are fanatics. So there's the American Hosta Society where people will post their favorite hostas and how their gardens are doing, and then people are like, oh, what's that hosta? And then they go look it up. Like for us around here, New Hampshire hostas, I think it's nhhostas.com. They're wonderful. They have great stock. Haven't gotten a bad hosta from them yet. So, you know, and they're in New Hampshire. So they're sort of in the Northeast. But you can get them from anywhere, really. I mean, they're pretty popular. If you want to hone in and get like, you know, the St. Elmo's Fire, this one's got a little bit of clear stuff on the leaves too. So I'm not sure.
So is there like a holy grail of hostas? Like,
oh, you can spend all the money in the world on hostas. It really depends on what you like. There's giants, there's medium, there's minis, there's streaked, there's purple. The flower now is like, they're starting to do different flower colors, the petioles. So like under here, now they've hybridized so that these are red. I have a couple of them. I think Holler Grape was one that I got from Gary at Naylor, and it's beautiful now. Like, it's got this bluish leaf, but it's got purple, like a dark purple stem. So it's like, you know, they're just doing amazing things with hostas, and hostas are great. I mean, they're great deer food. They're but they do come back and they're pretty reliable. The only thing is, you know, hail will take them, the deer will take them, slugs will take them.
so you could split this hosta, if you like it, up into like 3 different little hostas?
Sure could. Yep, each one comes up in little pips. You know, you saw like the little eyes that come up out of the ground.
Yeah.
You can divide that and separate it, and yeah, you can divide it as much as you want. This is really pretty. This is one I divided and put in, and this is like almost growing perfectly. It's got like this bluish center with like a lighter green edge. That I have no idea where it came from or why I divided it off something, but that's going to be beautiful, and it may overtake St. Elmo's Fire. But oh, look, I can show you. Look at the stems on this. That's what I was just talking about. See how it's red? They have like this little pinky. So cute.
It's an insult to call it St. Elmo's Fire.
Why?
Because it was a horrible movie. Really.
And then this is Big Daddy, I think. Big Daddy. And you know what? It is Big Daddy. It's like Elegans used to be the big mama in the garden. This one is like taking over. So, but I'm not complaining about that. Lots of Astilbe back here. My gold leaf bleeding hearts. How amazing are those? Like pop limes. Man, if there's one thing that like makes this garden like just look fun in the spring, it's the lime, and that is a big contributor. I have some peonies that don't really do all that well. They're healthy, but they don't get big blooms on them, but I kind of like them as a filler in here. And then this one's Curly Fries.
Oh, my favorite.
Come see.
Curly Fries. Oh, I'm
here.
worried about the shadow, but
Oh my God.
you know,
Look.
I like to be professional.
People like to see what I'm talking about.
There's your curly fries without ketchup.
Mm-hmm. And El Nino. These are El Nino hostas. They're blue with a white edge. You know, unfortunately we had 80-degree weather already, so the blue is not as vibrant as it was. And then Praying Hands. This one, some of these are sticking this year. I'm not sure what the deal is. I've had to like unfurl a couple of these hosta leaves because they get stuck inside each other for some reason.
Wasn't Praying Hands praying for lungwort last year? Where's lungwort?
Oh, lungwort's in the front. We'll hit that one.
So lungwort survived.
And remember when I found the bronze peacock RODGER'S flower, RODGER'S, however you say that? Look at it. Look at the color of this leaf. It's coming back amazing. Oh, I'm so excited. That has a pink flower, you guys. Pink.
What
Usually
that
it's
called?
white. RODGER'S flower. It's bronze peacock. And it comes up and it puts this massive stalk of pink flowers. So I actually got 2 more of those that I left in pots. I don't think they made it over.
They're down peacocks.
Yeah, they're not so happy with me right now. Oh, I have to trim this back. This is another plethora that I'm trying to like revive, so it got stuck in the back of the garden. And once again, the left side looks crappy and the right side is alive. So I'm not sure. We got this left side thing going on. I have a oak leaf hydrangea that died on the left side. Just the left side. But anyway, so peonies and azalea, Simicifugo back there is doing great. I love that in the fall. And then we have Ivory Halo Dogwood, which is more of a filler plant, and you can see it sort of like leans this way. It goes toward the sun a little bit, which is fine because really the perspective from this garden is on the other side. So if we come back through, just don't knock these over. I had these little metal things in here so I could keep the dog from stomping on them. And you know what? She's done really good. She hasn't really destroyed anything yet. Oh, look at that. I think is that Dreamweaver? Those big hostas. See how there's like 5 leaves, but when they leaf out, man, they're huge.
It's definitely Dreamweaver.
Dreamweaver or Great Expectations. I don't think it's Great Expectations. I'm not quite sure.
I don't think it is either.
No. I'm glad. Thank you for your input. But anyway, look at this guy. This is Hosta Andrew. And Andrew is slow. But man, look at the size of this leaf. This is the biggest leaf I've ever had on Hosta Andrew. Look at this. It's just starting to be amazing. I have to pull some of that lungwort away from Andrew because it's invading its space. But I have Halcyon right here, which is a beautiful blue hosta. Beautiful blue. And then look at this one. This is Eros, E-R-O-S. Look at this. I mean, how can you not buy that when you see it? When you have like all of these hostas and then you see Eros with the leaf and the variegation, that was a definite, I'm buying that one when I see it. Same for this one. This is Hot Kiss. Look how amazing Hot Kiss is. It's got that white veining around the, sort of like a guacamole green center and blue edging.
Looks like a very wet Hot Kiss.
It's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. Haha. And then we have Epimedium. So this one is called White Wedding. It's kind of done blooming, but this is a great plant for dry shade. If you have areas that don't get a lot of sun and it's just like you have crappy soil, it tolerates that. And it does amazing. It doesn't spread too much. Like they're probably 3 times the size of when I purchased them, but they're some have a spreading habit. This one does not. This one is very clump forming. And unfortunately, Sagae, who is normally just it's probably usually up to here by now. I'm not sure what happened. This one had a little trouble unfurling. And while it's going to be a clump, it's not going to be as tall as it was for some reason. I still don't know. Some people say it was frost that made the leaves stick together. I'm thinking it's more my dog stepped on the ground as they were coming up and kind of damaged them so they couldn't unfurl properly.
Did you just blame your dog for doing something wrong?
I did.
Oh my goodness.
I know. But you know what? She always came through this way, which is why I put some of those barriers up so she would stop, because I'm like, oh man, if she runs and she hits those pasta pips, forget it. And then another Hakone grass. This is just all green and this cascades over. And another hosta they probably didn't have a place for, so it got put here.
Poor guy, he's all by himself over here.
Oh, he's happy. He's happy. So anyway, that's the shade garden. It's coming in nicely. It's growing in nicely, and it's like, look at these birds. They're like gonna take my head off.
What's new? What did you put in here that's new this year that you didn't tell me about?
So far, nothing.
Nothing?
Nothing is new. I don't think so.
That's unusual for you, isn't it?
No.
Don't you normally have to add something to it?
Believe it or not, this garden grows in and does so well that I very rarely have to do much to it. I added stuff last year to it and it all came up great. So I haven't done anything to this garden. I'm trying to think. Oh, I did. But I didn't buy anything. I grew them from seed. Back around this little griffin thing. What is he called? I can't even imagine. I don't know. His name is Finn. You
forgot his name.
No, I know his name, Finn, but I forget what they call him. Around there, you'll see I have little tags because I grew from seed echinacea. And so last year I put coleus in there and it was okay, but it was an annual. And I grew my own little echinacea seed from my garden. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to put them in there. They're probably going to be too tall for that spot, you know, in 2 years. But for now, I needed a spot to plant them. So
is there any plant in this garden that if it gets too much sun, forget about it?
Yeah, that half of the garden. All right, so that garden over there, that little mess of a garden that needs some help at the moment, that had the big oak tree that we took down. And that oak used to shade the left side because the sun path comes over. It used to shade this part of the garden, so everything was really shady. If you notice, I have sedums, I have daylilies, I have ruby spice, I have tree peonies, I have weigela. I have a lot of sun-loving things in here now. I have coneflowers in the front. That is because it has a little more sun than some of these would like. I did have Hosta Andrew over here in the front right where the plum pudding heuchera is. And it was like browning on the edges and like, I don't want to be here.
Who would want to be next to plum pudding?
Oh God.
Think about it.
So anyway, so it got moved to this side of the garden because right now, like it gets morning sun, it's nice and cool. But by the afternoon, this crabapple basically shades the whole garden. And it's about to flower and drop a whole bunch of petals in my hosta leaves, which is one of the most annoying things about this garden. But I can't complain because it's gorgeous. It's my favorite. This is like, I don't do much to this garden. It literally is like a self-sustaining garden other than the springtime, you know, plant tone, mulch, and, you know, Neptunes for the flowering things. But so I don't do anything to the hostas other than the spring mulch and plant tone.
So a garden like this is probably the safest bet for most gardeners out there that don't have a lot of sun. You can't really go wrong with picking the plants you suggested. But
you have to have a little bit of sun. It's got it, like, see right now, all these plants are getting a little bit of sun. You do have to have some sun. Shade plants, as shade tolerant as they say, Epimedium might be the only plant that like really doesn't need a whole bunch of sun, but you need some sun for plants. You just do. Even if it's a shade tolerant plant, it's going to do much better with a little bit of sun. So definitely morning sun is better for your shade plants, but look.
Oh wow, we got a hummingbird fight.
Oh, you know what happened? I usually have two hummingbird feeders and one broke over the winter. So I have one hummingbird feeder on this side and I need to put one on the other side of the house. They're fighting over it. They get territorial.
Well, you know, sugar crash too.
Yeah, I know. Man, the way they zip around though, you can like hear them coming. They're like little airplanes.
They're like our kids after they eat a bowl of Cocoa Krispies.
Yeah, so this looks, I mean, I'm thrilled with how this is, you know, I'm thrilled. It's like, it's finally happening. Everything looks so fresh. I love after a rain. There's nothing better than the shade garden after a rain. It's like, I could literally just sit here and watch the hummingbirds all day and think about what I can plug in where.
Yeah, well, I think my feet would be drier if I walked through a flash flood with you because the morning dew has got
This is not morning dew. This is wet from the storm yesterday.
Yeah, well, great, because I'm gonna have damp socks all day. Thank you very much.
Well, you are home. You can go change them.
Well, when you're an athlete, you don't catch athlete's foot. I'm gonna catch nerd foot.
Nerd foot?
Yeah. I'm not really an athlete. I'm more of a geeky nerd.
Oh, are you?
Well, little self-deprecation works once in a while. I don't want people to think I'm that modest.
Oh, God.
I am your arm candy, don't forget.
That is true. It's true. Not an easy thing to be.
No, it isn't.
All right, so this is it. This is the first official Hosta Shade Garden spring tour, and you just ended it with more than a wet foot.
I wish I was walking through a flash flood now. Ah, that's your dog too. You know it.
I know. Well, what can I say?
Funny how you spent the morning picking up my dog crap in your garden, but left a big landmine for your husband to step in.
Yes, your dog did. Although I must say, instead of going on the plants now, he's actually gone on the mulch. So it's like easier to pick up. And you can tell sometimes he wanted to go on a plant and it probably just fell through.
I've been working with him. I'm trying to plant potty train him.
Yeah.
I've been putting newspapers next to the garden.
Yeah, he'd probably eat the newspapers. He's that smart.
No, that's your dumb dog.
Well.
The one that's walking around with a lampshade on its head already. And
Zoe,
already
come.
cost us
Come here.
$2,000.
Zoe, come see.
Come on, Zoe. Show everybody what you look like.
Oh, my boy, baby. This is what happens when your dog decides to chase a fox and land a 3.5-inch piece of wood through her leg. Not fun.
Boy, it looks like that thing must smell pleasant. Hey, look. It's a clamp shade. It's gonna clamp right on you. It's dirty.
I know. She's kind of a mess right now. But you know what? Nothing that a late night emergency vet clinic can't fix.
She's starting to get annoyed with that. She has been pretty good. Hey, thanks for crapping on the lawn. Really appreciate it. You're lucky you have a lampshade on.
Well, she goes to get the drain out of her leg today, so she'll be happy.
And there's Jack, the perfect little pug. He knew you were talking about him.
He's a good boy.
He's a good garden dog, right, Jacksters?
He loves fertilizer and plants. I know.
And food.
Yeah. I know. So anyway, all right.
All right, honey.
What a way to start the day.
Loving the spring garden, shade garden, everything. Back to the basics.
Yep.